Okay, let me preface this by saying that I don't love the Avengers. I don't even really like them. I like a couple of the mainstay members, but even those that I like, I prefer flying solo, honestly, than part of the team. At the same time, even the characters I don't like Iron Man, would admittedly make for a pretty rad video game. So after playing the beta and the game, I think Crystal Dynamics got the important parts right. They didn't nail everything. I don't think this game is as good as Spider-Man PS4 or the Batman Arkham series. But it's good. It would be closer to the bottom of the superhero games this decade, but that means modern superhero games have gotten pretty good if this is one of the worst. Because again, this game is pretty good. That being said, unlike those other games, this one is going to improve over time since it's an online game. Yes, there's a story in the campaign, but the main conceit that people will spend hundreds of hours in, including myself, will be the multiplayer missions and the many different hero combinations they're going to add. The roster has started out strong with Black Widow, Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, Ms. Marvel, and Thor, with 2 Hawkeyes and Spider-Man on the way. But it's time we talk about the future of the game. Okay, I also know that there was a big leak on who the next 15 or so characters are, so I'm going to do 2 lists essentially. I do want to specify that the leak probably isn't in order of release, because Kate Bishop has been announced as the first DLC character, yet she isn't the first on the list. While I'll read them in order that the leak list goes into, that's not a prediction of the release orders. Another thing, my predictions are heavily based on their leaks. I want to go over whether they make sense and if they should be in the game. I will spend much more time talking about the 5 heroes I would like in the game, which will differ from the leak predictions, save for one. I think the first 5 on the list are pretty safe bets: Ant-Man, the Wasp, the Vision, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. Not only do these 5 all present a different moveset to the characters already in the game, they each have an important presence in the MCU. The Vision is going to be in WandaVision, Black Panther and Doctor Strange have dated sequels, and while a third Ant-Man or second Ant-Man the Wasp isn't dated yet, their movie is confirmed to close out their trilogy. There is the added fact that Ant-Man and the Wasp are the only 2 founding members of the team in the comics that aren't in the game yet, and with the push by Crystal Dynamics to take inspirations from the comics more than the movies, I won't be surprised if that pushed these 2 to the top of their list. That being said, I'm not quite so sure about the next few in the leaked roster, because of relevancy. I admit that the Falcon makes sense with his show and his simple moveset, probably make him easier to add to the game early on. I can't say the same about Captain Marvel, not Carol Danvers, but the OG Captain, and then Mockingbird and Quake, who also don't make much sense. I'm sorry, Marvel fans, but he hasn't been relevant even in the comics for years. His children are far more relevant than him, so I can't believe that he would be even added to this game before, say, Hulkling. Maybe Crystal Dynamics wants to distinguish their universe as different from the movies, but he just doesn't make sense. I'm not saying it's impossible, I just don't get why. I wouldn't ever add him myself, probably not even as a skin. And Mockingbird isn't much better either. Sure, she's definitely more relevant than Marvel, but with Black Widow in the game already using a bow staff, why do we need Mockingbird? Like, she seems like a wasted character slot. She's a cool character with a funny personality, but she could just as easily be a skin for Black Widow, maybe with a new voice actor. I know Mockingbird doesn't usually use guns, typically, as far as I know, but like, I don't know, she just feels like a wasted character slot. Then there's Quake, like, really? This is who we want to add to the game? I realize that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is ending this year, but that show has had barely any viewers compared to other superhero TV shows. Barely anyone watches it, and because of that, it's been rumored to be canceled several times before it got the final season order. Even if the show was more popular, that's off the back of Agent Coulson, not Quake. Who cared about Quake before this show? How many after? Not many, and she's not even an Avenger. I really hope she's not added, or like, isn't added until Crystal Dynamics is scraping the bottom of the barrel for characters. There's so many I would want before her. The only reason I can see her being added is the focus on stupid Inhumans in this game, and her being an Inhuman. The next 5 characters in the league make sense from a relevancy standpoint, but they don't make sense with where they're listed, lending credence to the idea that the leak isn't in release order even more. Maybe Crystal Dynamics wants to spread out the more popular heroes, but this would be a weird way to do it. The Winter Soldier, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, and She-Hulk are all logical additions. The Winter Soldier may not seem that interesting from a gameplay standpoint, but his popularity and aesthetic make him a shoo-in, especially because he has a show with the Falcon. I will be playing as him, and I don't think he'll make a very fun character, but I have no doubt that he's going to be added. Maybe they can give him a shield and a Captain America skin. Scarlet Witch, though, is awesome. Her magic might end up being similar to Doctor Strange's, but magic is so diverse that there's room for 2 magic-based heroes. Plus, she's so destructive that she'll be the hammer to Doctor Strange's scalpel. I'm just shocked that the leak doesn't have her as one of the first characters to be added. I would say the same about Captain Marvel too. Captain Marvel has essentially become Marvel's Wonder Woman. Their premier female character, honestly. It makes sense that she would be added, but not so late in the game. I really don't trust the ordering of the characters in this leak, but Kara will definitely be added. She may end up playing a lot more like an overpowered Iron Man, but I'm sure they can make her fun and give her a good rapport with the other characters, especially Miss Marvel. Then there's She-Hulk. I love She-Hulk. She's an amazing character who's finally getting some love in her adaptations. Her place towards the last of the characters being added makes sense, since her show is pretty far away, but I honestly want her the most out of all these announced characters, or leaked characters. She's funny and she bounces off the other Avengers really well, even the boring ones. I do think she would play really similarly to the Hulk, but if she were a bit faster and a bit weaker, I think she would fix the gameplay weaknesses of his playstyle. Not that there's anything wrong with the Buffy, Raging Beast version of her in the comics right now, but that version only works as well as it does when the Hulk isn't also a Raging Beast at the same time, because when she's a Raging Beast, he's the immortal Hulk and he's pretty smart and evil. This should be the sarcastic, wisecracking She-Hulk from either Dan Slott's or John Byrne's run. The one who actually likes having superpowers. But the last character in the leak, War Machine, he feels like he would be someone's last thought. I get that he has different guns to Iron Man, but like, seriously? He's just a boring pick with a capital B. I'm not trying to diss his character, but I am dissing his playstyle. Just make him a skin for Iron Man with a different voice actor and voice lines, akin to like a Premier skin in Injustice. I'd rather pay for that over a wasted character slot. I mean, I know we're not paying for these characters, they're free, but like, metaphorically speaking, like paying with my time. And with War Machine, we get the last of the leaks for the game. Now, I want to talk less about my predictions, but my wish list of characters who I want in the game. Aside from one, I don't think any of these characters are likely to be added unless the game lasts long enough that they start scraping the bottom of the barrel for Avengers adjacent characters. I want to get my first pick out of the way. She-Hulk is the Avenger I want the most, and she's the only one of my 5 who is closely tied and related to the Avengers enough that she would know everyone on the team pretty well, I think. I don't want to spend too much time talking about her because I literally just did, that she's the only character I want who was in the leaks. She-Hulk's awesome, and too many Marvel fans are sleeping on her. Basically, that's it. But my most wanted pick is one of Marvel's best and most popular characters, Wolverine. There really shouldn't be a Marvel game he isn't in. I mean, unless it's like a solo Marvel game, but like anytime there's like a Marvel game about the Marvel Universe or a Marvel team, he should be in it. Before the MCU, he was easily in the top 3 most popular Marvel heroes, and I honestly believe his place in the top 3 will stop being debatable once he makes his MCU debut. We deserve a game with deep mechanics that puts Spider-Man and Wolverine side by side. Yes, he is an X-Man first and foremost, but he's been on plenty incarnations of the Avengers. Many at once, actually. He was in one of the more popular incarnations with Spider-Man, called the New Avengers. There, he became a true staple of the team, so much so that he sided with the Avengers in Avengers vs. X-Men. Not that he should have done that, but he did. His powers were made for a video game too. It's a travesty that we've only gotten one good Wolverine game. X-Men Origins Wolverine was a better game than it had any right to be, and we deserve the chance to slice and dice with his claws again. He should be at the top of the list. But the desire Marvel has to make the X-Men and Avengers appear as if they're in different universes most of the time infuriates me. The only good reason I would accept Wolverine never appearing in this game would be if there were plans to make an X-Men game in the style Crystal Dynamics has created here, which I would love and probably should make a video about. My second unlikely pick has a decent chance of being added, is Blade. He just finished a stint on the Avengers roster in the comics and brings some real diversity to the roster in terms of race and gameplay. Panther's cool, but Falcon just shoots and flies while War Machine is a ripoff of Iron Man. This game can use more than one cool black character who plays differently from everyone else. Yes, Black Widow uses cool gadgets too, and Wolverine would have his own blades in his hands, but Blade would bring both playstyles together, and then add super speed and strength for it. Blade's not a speedster, that's not what I'm saying, but he is fast. The only character in the game, or on the lead roster, who has like any kind of like super speed is the Hulk and She-Hulk. But Hulk plays like a lumbering giant who's meant to leap more than he runs, and I expect She-Hulk will too. This would make Blade a fast and deadly mid-sized character that would bring that gameplay diversity into the game. And if Crystal is really willing to go there, Giving Blade the ability to travel by transforming into bats, or the ability to suck the blood out of enemies who aren't robots, would be cool too. I don't think they'd do it, because again, most of the enemies are just robots, but that would make this game with his fighting style like even more fun to play, and different enough from the rest of the roster. Having come along with this movie would probably make sense too. It'd be a long wait, but he'd still be such an awesome addition. Now, second to last on my wish list is probably the hardest sell, and is honestly never going to be added, but I want her in the game anyway, the Invisible Woman. Sue Storm is the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four by a long shot, with her powers of invisibility and telekinetic-like shield abilities. She's never been an Avenger as far as I know, but I would want at least one member of the Fantastic Four to make it in, and she's been a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. before, so she seems like the most likely option of the Fantastic Four. Her powers alone would make her both a DPS with her telekinetic-like powers, but also an awesome small-sized tank with her ability to make people invisible and protect them with shields. She'd make for a dynamic character that would make for awesome team combinations in the game. I have no expectation that she'll be actually added into the game, but that won't stop me from wanting her. My last wishlist edition might ruffle some feathers considering the hate this character gets, and the hate Miss Marvel's already getting, but I don't care. I want the Mighty Thor added to this game. No, I don't mean Thor Odinson, who's already in the game. I mean Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor. The best Thor. I just did a review on the first part of her run, and I'll do more when we hear more about Thor Love and Thunder, but long story short, I really have fallen in love with this rendition of the character. Her struggles have added a depth to her character that Thor doesn't have, and her maturity and patience lets her do far cooler things with the hammer. What Crystal Dynamics has done with Thor in this game has disappointed me more than any other character. He's just not that interesting or fun to play compared to everyone else. I understand that this was an unrealistic expectation for him to play as good as Kratos did in God of War PS4, but he's still disappointing. Throwing the hammer just doesn't feel as fun. There aren't really many combos to do with him, nor are there any really that the game does that well. Taking a second shot at a hammer-wielding character with the Mighty Thor would be awesome. For one thing, the way she can control and throw the hammer leaves a lot more room and gameplay opportunities than what Thor Odinson does on average. If they focus on that and better her hand-to-hand melee, she would play like he should have. Plus, Jane Foster is such a good character, I would settle to see her as Valkyrie, but she's at her best when she's Thor. She's just the best at being Thor. But that's it. That's my predictions and my analysis on the leaks, along with my wish list of characters. Who do you want to see added? Who do you like in the leaks? Please, I need someone to explain to me how Quake is getting into this game. It makes no sense to me.